City, and we're only going to be using the color black. So the good news is we don't have to wash our brush the entire class. We just, every time that we go get more paint, we're not going to dip our brush in and wiggle it. We're just going to dip just to get more water, dip once like this, and then bring it over to get more paint, okay? So the first thing we're going to do, we've got our red on top and our blue on the bottom. The first thing we're going to do is draw a black line in between the green and the yellow. This is what we call a horizon line. It's where the buildings start and then going up and the water starts going down. So we're going to do downtown Dallas. I'm going to show you how to draw the buildings. We're going to break them down into really simple shapes. Most of them are rectangles. And then after we do the top part, we'll go back down and do the reflections in the water. So the first one's really easy. We're going to go halfway between the top of the paper and the bottom of the red. I'm just using the tip of the brush. I'm not pressing really hard because I want it to be a pretty thin line. And I'm just doing a rectangle. And then I'm going to color it in. When I color it in, I want to use up and down brush strokes instead of side to side. Okay? It's going to give the illusion that it's tall. And then the water, we're only going to use side to side brush strokes, and it's going to make it look like water. So then we're going to go maybe like 1 or 2 fingers up on the yellow and go over just a little bit. Then we're going to start our next building. So there's a little space between the buildings. The buildings on this one is going to be like stairs. So up, over, up, over. Now I'm going to do a tall tower. And it's going to be a little bit taller. Make a mistake like I just did. Just change the shape of your building a little. It's going to be taller than the other building. We do not want our buildings to all be the same height. We want each of them to be different. So then I'm going to do the same thing going down. So down steps. Then I'm going to color it in. Now, whenever your brush starts to kind of run out of paint, remember, instead of just going and getting paint, first get water, then get paint and swirl. Okay, so the next one, we're going to go over again and give it a little bit of space. Then we're going to go up all the way almost to the top. It's going to be a really tall building. Over, down, and maybe it's got a little side building. So it's, all of these are just basically rectangles, right? Nothing hard. So need more water, need more paint. Your paint should have a kind of puddle in it. It should be watery, not like thick or like paste or glue. Okay, the next building is my favorite one. It's Reunion Tower. So we're going to go up, really thin line, and then we're going to do a circle. Okay, and I'm going to do the next one a little bit different from how I have it on the backboard, and give a lot more space before I do my next building, which is kind of like a really tall house. It's got a triangle top to it. Okay. So now that I've done my buildings, I'm going to go down and do the reflections. So imagine we were to fold this paper in half. The reflections are basically going to be the exact same thing that we did, but flipped going upside down. Like when you're looking in water or a mirror, how it reflects what you're looking at, that's exactly what's going to happen. So this, which goes halfway into the red, is going to go about halfway down the blue. And instead of using up and down brush strokes, we're going to use really loose side to side brush strokes, and we're going to let some of that green and blue show through. We don't want it to be exact. Then I'm going to go and do this one reflected, So it's going to be wide and get thinner. So wide, 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 wide. Then thin, 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 thin. So do you guys see how it's not a perfect building? I'm being really loose with it. I have lots of space. I'm just kind of doing almost like zigzags. So this one is wide, and then it gets thinner when it goes down to one building. This one's really, really thin, 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 and then it gets a little wider because it makes the shape of a ball. But I'm only using side to side lines, so it's not, I don't actually draw my circle. I have to make the circle by doing side to side lines. And then back, forth, back and forth, back and forth. This one comes to a point, to a triangle. Now I just need to go at the base and kind of connect them. So I do a few side to side lines in between. And there we go. We've got our reflections of our water and our city. And it goes in the drying rack to dry. And we put our brush back in the water and we stay in our seats. The only people who are going to be getting up are the table leaders. They will bring it over to the sink, okay? No one else should be getting up. Even if you're like, oh, I need to wash my hands, we're going to wait until everything is done and clean before we do that, okay?